And she's gonna have to wake me up with the holy water. Because I'm gonna be like this.
I'll be like, wait, somebody get their plate. I'm gonna get the pillow. Like, here you go.
Is we starting or not?
Okay. Jesus.
No, we've been rolling for a while now, so y'all ready?
Oh, okay.
We happy?
Yeah, we've been
Go
rolling.
ahead. Let me make sure my fat ain't showing.
She said, let me make sure my fat ain't showing. Oh my gosh. Okay.
We still rolling.
I'm like,
Welcome to T&G Fostering Christian Love, where you can get all the tea. I'm Miss T. These are my daughters, Naya. Well, Kiara, we call her a little bit, and Shanika Poodles. Shanice. And we're gonna have a little conversation, so you guys can kind of get an idea of what it was like for them to grow up in the house together, what it was like for them to go to school together, what it was like dealing with crazy mom and dad, or strict mom and dad, or whatever you want to call it. So, girls, what was it like?
Biggest and littlest.
She's the oldest.
Okay, so it was difficult because growing up in my own home in the Bay Area, I didn't have structure, so I was able to kind of do what I wanted to do. And coming here, where we had structure and rules, it was very difficult, especially when getting settled in and just having to do what she said and having to do what Dad said. It was different for me, coming from a household where it was only my dad and not a mom, just a father figure.
Had you been in other homes before here?
Yes, I had been in about maybe 5 or 6 other foster homes in the Bay Area before coming here.
Okay. How old were you when you came here?
When I came here, I was 16.
What about them polka dotted rain boots that you were wearing in the summertime? Did those come here too? Or
Wow,
or did you
I
get
forgot all about that.
So I
Or did you get those while you were here? I'm just curious.
So I have these all-time favorite polka dot rain boots. I wore them in the summer. You couldn't tell me anything. It was 100 degrees. And I got them from a previous foster parent. We went shopping at Target, and I was like, ooh, I like these shoes. So I wore them. And ever since I put them on, I never took them off.
And we've been talking about it ever since. And then you guys already know a little bit.
Yes.
And you guys know a little bit about her life story. However, what was it like between you and Naya growing up in the house? What was your relationship like?
Well, she was my roommate, so I wasn't not fond of having roommates. It didn't really matter, but like having like previous experiences with, living in group homes, and saying before in the last videos that people would steal your stuff and you just would have to fight and do things. But living with her, I didn't have that issue, besides other stuff that sisters argue about, but it was a little different for me, because she would snitch on me all the time. a lot. So I would get in trouble a lot by sneaking on the phone because it was her. Or like stuff that happened at school, but it was nothing intentional. I think it was just coming all out of love, but when you kids, you just kind of like snitch. So, but it wasn't hard. I mean, we had a lot of chores that I didn't grow up with having, and we alternated from cleaning the kitchen to the bathroom. And I remember there were times where we call ourselves getting comfortable, getting ready to go to sleep, and Mama come regulating, trying to see if we did our chores, and if we didn't do our chores right or didn't clean, you would come wake us up. So we used to get really upset. Yeah, it was very structured. So it was something to get used to.
And Shanice, what was it like for you? Because you weren't actually a foster child, you're my baby. So what was it like growing up in the house?
At first, I didn't like it.
Really? Even when you got to be a teen, or are you saying when you were young?
Even a teen.
Even a teen, really?
I really didn't like it when I was young, but
Yeah.
I didn't like it when I was younger at all.
Uh-huh.
But I got better as I got older.
Uh-huh.
Like, just gonna happen. So,
Because she made me.
Yeah, Kiki.
Really?
Yeah.
So with other sisters, did you not get along with them? Or did you feel like you had a closer bond with Lil Bit than you did any of the other sisters?
I think Kiki, Snacks, and Paulette I got the closest to.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, like Naya, Kiki, Paulette, Snacks, and Dama,
Mm-hmm.
those were the main sisters.
That you
Like,
vibe with.
yeah. Other than that, I was like, that's just my sister.
So you didn't get along with Ness?
I did get along with
Or
her.
Chels? Or Taylor?
Chelsea, we was cool for a minute. Then something happened.
Well, something always happens
But-
between sisters. That ain't going.
Yeah,
That's
that's something you don't
silly.
know about.
Oh
Well, I
Lord.
ain't gonna snitch on that. Me and
It's
Chelsea,
like a sister code. We just
yeah,
we
you don't
yeah,
break.
We just don't.
Like
Um,
she broke it few times.
We were
We
younger.
used to argue, so you know. But
Yeah. Yeah.
other than that, I wasn't here at the house because
Mhm.
I live with my mom.
Yeah.
But I was here on weekends, so
So when you because I'm your mom.
yeah.
So explain that situation.
My mom is my mother, the birth mother that
Uh-huh.
pushed me out,
Uh-huh.
and then you're my mom.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm your
you
mom.
know.
That's my baby.
Sometimes I get
Y'all
in
better.
trouble because I say my mom to my mama, and then she look at me like I'll kill you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we know that I don't use the words stepmother and stepfather. So.
Okay. So Naya, did you go to school with all of them? Like, did all you guys go to school at one time together, or did you go to school like separate? What was that like?
Me and Kiki went to school together. And no, me and Shanice, we didn't go to school together.
Yeah, I didn't go to school with them.
She went to a different school.
Yeah.
But I would go to the school if I had a problem.
So this is the little big sister because, as you can see, she go to the school if they have problems. So that's how you know it's the little big sister.
Yeah, but she wouldn't.
You see that? They still keeping secrets. They all grown, still keeping secrets from mom.
No, I tell them all. Snitching today, boy.
So what was it like for you two to go to school together? Did you guys have classes together?
Me a little bit, we did. I think we may have had one class together, but me a little bit, we did our own thing. Kiki was friends with everybody, and me, I was a little bit more to myself. I would talk to some people, but for the most part, I kind of did my own thing, and a little bit was always with the ghetto folks, the loud
I
ghetto
was
folks.
a social butterfly.
Yeah, you know, social butterfly with all the ghetto folks. And she knew everybody, and I'm like, a little bit, you hanging with them? Like, like, you know, so, you know, we just basically did our own thing, but when we seen each other, we still spoke. We hung out maybe for a few seconds or something, or if we were walking home together, but yeah, that was it.
Yeah, people knew we were siblings. They knew we were sisters. So it was kind of like, you know, you mess with her, you mess with me. And she was a senior, and I was a junior. So any type of trouble that she may would have got in, I always made sure to handle it. Just because I was that wild child, you know. But for the most part, everybody knew she was my sister. I was very interactive. I'm an extrovert, so I always was just out there, outgoing. Like I joined the color guard team. I joined all types of different activities just to be out there, you know. And and my sister was just my sister. She was my older sister, you know. So she was there.
So Shanice, you didn't go to school with them, but you guys were in the house at some point together. So when you guys were in the house together, did you guys just all get along?
Sometimes.
We had our
I'm
moments.
telling the truth. Sometimes.
We had our moments. Me and Kiki would butt heads. Maybe Kiki's side of the
I
room
never
was
got
really
into
messy.
it with Naya. I just got
Don't
into
try
it
to make
like
this
twice. I think twice. I got into it with Naya. I got into her a lot of times. That's because she would stab me in the back. But we over that now. We over that now.
It's called unconditional love. Okay, we done some hurt to each other. We done had some crazy moments with each other. We done had memories where we could just laugh about it now. But I think that's just the nature in sisters. And you know, blood couldn't really make you more related, but loyalty makes you a lot more family than anything. It's like something Shanice said a while back ago. This was just recently. You know, who you create your family is your family. Like those are the people in your circle, and it don't even have to be the people that you're blood related to. You know, so those are your family, and I feel like as growing up, this is my family. you know, this is some place that I can always come back to and call home, where I can go to her house and I know that's home, and I can go to her house, I know that's home because they're my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people be like, oh, well, y'all don't look alike. You don't have to look alike to not be family.
Yes.
You know, so that's my family. Like I can have the silkiest hair, she can have the braids, she can have the curls and the afro. That doesn't make us not related.
Yeah.
So and that's what, even though despite what we did to each other, that's what kept us at school.
I really feel like it was God's design.
Absolutely.
I do, because of all the various backgrounds and cultures that we've had in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look at what the world looks like today, with everything going on with the COVID and the Black Lives Matter and this and that and all of this other stuff, and I really love the diversity in the home. And that's something that when I was working at a daycare teaching the kids, I loved all of the kids. It wasn't about this color or that color or this color or that color, but I loved all the kids equally. Wished I could have took them home. That's how I became a foster parent, because I love the kids. So the more the merrier for me. What is your guys' relationship like with your dad?
Ooh, man. My dad, he gets on my nerves sometimes. Our dad is very
Dad may
strict.
get on everybody's nerves, but we'll all go for him, including me. I'm the top dog.
Look.
I think Dad has a way of showing tough love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes growing up, tough love can be a little harsh because we never really know, we don't really know how to receive that or reciprocate the same. And I feel like sometimes, he would say the truth hurt. And as you grow up, you don't realize that these things are important. You know, it's not, you don't realize that having tough love can build tough skin and build character. So we don't know these things when we kids, we think like, Dad tripping, he's over here lecturing us, or anything, we feeling all types of emotions. So
But he still do it.
at the end of the day, exactly. And one thing, because I grew up without a father, so I never really had a father figure. So I never knew how a father figure was supposed to be, so I'm sitting here having attitude why he's going like this and not realizing that he's showing me unconditional love, especially about, us being pretty women, beautiful women, as young girls, we're gonna be, out there with other guys, and he was trying to scold us on how to prepare ourselves to interact with other
And protect you guys.
and protect us, exactly. So
And not be misused or judged.
exactly. So
Manipulated.
Because that's something that I've seen him constantly talk to you guys about.
absolutely.
Constantly talk to you guys about your sexuality and covering yourself and not allowing guys to just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to really be aware of, the wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, I mean, he scared me when he said that I want to meet your boyfriends, I want to meet your husband. I was like, oh, okay, that's different for me. I've never,
Bring him home for dinner.
yeah. I was like, what? So it was, you were more gentle, he was more tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you were tough, but you were more gentle.
Well, I was the one that had all the questions because I want to know everything.
I remember I brought Marcus around for the first time. He brought all the knives. Hey, why would you scare him like this?
Well, I mean, he just wanted him to know.
He not playing.
Yeah, and that you're his baby, each one of you guys. And you guys all had your own relationship with him, but he was very, very serious, very protective of you guys. And that's one thing that I really admire, because it takes a strong man to come in and to take care of other people's kids and to love them and to teach them and to scold you guys and tell you, hey, that's not, the Lord is not pleased with that. You know what I mean? And this is what he desires, or that's what he desires. And it really takes a strong man to come in and take on that responsibility. The courage. What was y'all's relationship like with me?
Well, I think for me personally, since I got the closest to you, I grabbed a lot of your mantles and your wisdom, a lot of the things you poured into me, even though it's still being developed, a lot of the gifts that you have. Our relationship was, at first it was like, Mom's kind of mean, but once I got to know you and I got to know your character and your love for me, I kind of could let my guard down at that point, because I knew who you were and I knew that you were out for my good. You weren't trying to do anything that that a mother wouldn't do. You were just being there to protect me and love me, and you just took me in as your own. And I think we just, from there, once I got to know who you really were, we just hit it off, and it allowed me to love you more.
Yeah, because that was hard. Unfiltered. Still unfiltered.
Very unfiltered.
Oh, a little bit. What's going on with the eyes? What's up with that?
Because
What's the eyes
you,
like? Oh
you
my
are.
God.
My friends were afraid of you. That's why.
Really?
Yeah, that's why I never brought my friends over. If you ever noticed, I've never brought my friends over. The only person you never questioned that, and it was only because I always was in trouble, you know. But
Yeah,
at
so
the
you
same
had to
time,
learn how
I
to
never felt comfortable bringing my friends because you just had that intimidation look, and they were scared of you. The only person that I brought over that looked past that was Stefan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's, you know, Stefan is somebody I went to prom with. So, you know, he was the best friend of mine. Still talk to him to this day, cool people. But yeah, that was the only person I brought over, you know.
I think because the hard part is because you guys always say that I have a mean face.
Yes.
Like my resting face is naturally mean, so it's an automatic turn off until people get to know me.
Yes.
Shanice, do you feel like that? My resting face is mean? Really?
You look intimidating. Like if you were to be at a job interview, Mom, I would be probably so nervous because you got that like stare, like as if you're looking into my soul and you're trying to read it, and
Until you start talking.
Yeah, until you start talking. Then you be like, oh,
She's not that
okay,
bad.
she's not that bad.
What they're really trying to say is she got that discernment. She gonna read right through you.
Yeah, you can read people.
Very
That's the
well.
only thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know I was lying about a person before I even brought him over.
But see, the funny thing about our relationship was like, there were, at one point, I think me and Shanice was very territorial over you. And we were fighting for your relationship because she was like, one day I think she was like, oh, I'm Mom's favorite. And I was like, well, I'm Daddy's favorite. And they was like, no, I'm Daddy's favorite. I was like, well, I'm Mom's favorite. Like, you know, we were just kind of having a little phase. But I think that everybody has their own like little relationship with you.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has their own. Because like, even with my mom, you know, like me living with her and talking to her and building my relationship with her, it's a different dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I know that sometimes she gets, like how Shanice said about her mom, she gets a little jealous because, you know, I have a different dynamic relationship with you than I do with her.
Yeah.
You know, so if I would start to fuss and you'd be like, you shut it down, I'm quickly to shut down. When it comes to my mom, it's a different dynamic. So I'm
Yeah.
like, it's just different. It's a different level of respect.
Yeah. What you think?
I knew you since I was one, so.
Yeah. Since you were 4.
So, I mean,
That little bitty.
but I liked you. I didn't like nobody else, so.
Yeah. Well, even when I was mean and we was in the store
No, I
and
didn't
you
like that.
wanted that Easter basket, you went here.
I don't remember that.
Oh.
From you telling me that, I know I didn't like you.
Look, she went and hid in the clothes. She was like 4 years old when I met her, and I was 18. She wanted an Easter basket. Her dad said no. She got upset, started having a tantrum. She goes to hide in the clothes, and he's looking around the store for her. I was not about to look around the store. I said, Shanice, you better come out right now. And she peeked her head out of the clothes. I said, you get out of them clothes right now. You're not going to act like that. She looked at me. And I said, you come over here. And so she came over and I talked to her about, you know, being kind and gentle and all the things. And then I said, now give me a hug. And then she started smiling. She gave me a hug. And then big old dimples started coming out. And I said, you're going to be a good girl. And she said, I'm going to be a good girl. But I was very stern even then. I guess I always have been very stern. And I think a lot of that comes from the way I grew up because I would take care of my brothers and sisters and my grandparents, and you know what I mean? I was always parentified. So that came with the territory of when you guys came into the home, or even when other kids came into the home. The way my grandparents raised me was very strict and very stern. Like everything was very strict and very stern. And so I picked up a lot of those characteristics and a lot of those traits. So when it came to my kids, well, at the time, Shanice was my only kid at that time. And so I was always very stern. So as other kids came, they would be like, ooh, she's mean. Ooh, she's mean. Ooh, she's mean. And then sometimes even now you have to say, hey, Mom, You gotta ease back with all of that
Right.
because people don't know you like I know you. They don't know that you don't mean any harm, so it can come off very brash.
Right.
And I'm like, I get it, but you know, you just gotta get to know me.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get to know me, and just know that I might come off as harsh, very unfiltered, but my love for you supersedes all of that. And then my correction and the guiding supersedes all of that. So let's get down to some real stuff. What was it like dating growing up,
Ooh, Lord.
and your dad and mama and all of the things? What was that like?
Well, dating was interesting for me. Like, I never really brought guys over.
Mhm.
Like I said, the only guy I really brought was Stefan
Stefan.
and Dre, but
That was already your dad's basketball.
yeah, that was, you know, a situation. But, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like I never really brought guys over. I think I was more secretive about who I brought over or even decided to have relationships with.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like growing up, dating was kind of different than what it is, what I know it is now, you know?
Do you think that your dad had a big impact on
Oh, absolutely.
who you dated or whether or not you were choosing the green guys, which we already said your dad was like, no,
Yes.
I only want to meet your husband.
Absolutely.
I don't want to meet these
Right.
little boys.
I mean, he had like a list of guys that we needed to date: a lawyer, a doctor.
Untouchable people.
Untouchable
Baby,
people.
buy me a yacht.
Yeah, and that's the first thing, you better buy me a yacht, you know. And it's just kind of like, I think what he's saying is we have to not settle and have like higher standards for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, even if he's freaking just working at the refinery or something, like something small, as long as he has something going for himself, something
Yeah.
that he can, you know, I don't want to say benefit a woman, I guess in the sense of benefiting each other in a positive way, in a healthy way, you know, because I feel like as if women, you know, of course we're supposed to be helpmeet of a man or whatnot, but I feel like he wanted us to have somebody that's like almost the same image as him.
Mhm.
You know, like they say, you know, daughters always have a way of wanting to date the same person as their father.
Mhm.
You know, so I think in a sense that he was trying to structure us to view somebody as good as him. If it ain't good as our daddy, then we don't need that person.
If he's not doing better than
Yes,
what
that's
your
what I
dad
was
was,
gonna say. Yes.
if he's not setting a higher standard than
Mhm.
what your dad
Like
is.
if our dad can't, the stuff that our dad do for us, if that man, our man can't do that, then it's not the person for us.
Mhm.
That's the kind of impression that I got. You know what I mean? And it's not bad. I mean, some guys have better situations, but that doesn't mean that we need to be their burden as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
I always said if a man can't work at least 12 to 16 hours a day, he can't be with me because my dad was a hard worker. He would come home, cut the grass, mow the lawn, take care of stuff around the house, and even still make time to, you know, fellowship with us and still pour into us. So I always said if
Yeah.
a man can't keep a job and, you know, he's not devoted to his family, we don't want a man like that because we need a family man because our dad is a family man and he loves the Lord. We need somebody that's going to go to church and somebody that's going to return your tithes because
Yeah.
our dad was big on that growing up. So
Yeah, he really was.
that's what we
He's
need.
still big on that.
Yeah.
You know, because and like that's happening because you're not returning your daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, because he stayed getting on Shanice. Well, if you would have returned your tithe,
Yeah.
forgetting about the Lord all the time, this wouldn't be happening if you would remember God first.
I remember when I got my tax money. He said, "Did you return your daughter?" I'm like, "No, my tax is almost gone."
Yeah, that was one. I mean, he's still very, very big on that. I think the moral compass that he's wanting you guys to understand more than anything is putting God first. Because when you put God first, all the other things will just fall in line. And even when it comes to finding, and it's not you that finds a man, but the scripture says that he that finds a wife finds a good thing. So that what that means is it's the man ultimately finding you, but God is preparing that man for you. So what that means is, although you are, the Lord is working on you, because you need two whole people. So you need to be whole. And then the man that God has for you needs to be whole. We can't have two halves trying to come together and make a whole, because it doesn't work that way. But you need to be a complete whole person. There's things that God wants to do in you, and while God is doing those things in you, he's also doing those things in the man. So when he does find you, he's finding that Proverbs 31 woman, that woman that is after God's heart, or that is a praying woman, that is a woman that is going to be looking out, not just after the children in the home, but looking for God's heart, wanting to know what God knows, wanting to have an ear to hear what God is saying. Because when I know for the dynamic between me and your dad, there are times that I am down, but then your dad encourages me in the Lord. And there are times that he's down, and then I encourage him in the Lord. But if we're both down, then who's encouraging who? You know what I mean? So just to be a whole person, you know what I mean? And allowing God to pour into you through the reading of your word, through worship, through spending time with him, through having an ear to hear what he's saying, throughout whatever your days may look like. So just putting him first, because I know that one of the things I mentioned in my previous videos is when we would get up for devotion, that would change the trajectory of the day, what the day might look like. I know for me it did, because it helped me to have more patience. It helped me to think before reacting, so then I could then respond instead of react. It helped me to have an ear to hear what God was saying when it came to disciplining you guys, or when it came to guiding you guys, or like the long talks that we would have one-on-one with each other about whatever you were going through, or you were going through, or you were going through. It would cause me to be open to hear what God was saying, so then I would be able to pour into you exactly what you needed. But if I wasn't in my word, or I wasn't praying, how could I then pour into you? How could I then give you what you needed, even when you didn't want to hear about what you needed? And so I think that was a big thing growing up. Did y'all like getting up early?
No, we hated getting up early. Nobody wants to get up. I'm like,
I was
this
just
is
thinking
not the
that in my
timing of
head.
the Lord.
Oh, you were just thinking. Shanice was like, I was just thinking that in my head. I hated getting
Because
up
when
early.
I finally did move in with you guys, and I finally started waking up in the morning with y'all, I'm like, why are we waking up so early?
I remember she used to blink her blanket. She used to be like,
Still have sleep.
I remember when you used to wake us up, and I'd be like, all right, Mom, and then I'd close the door and I'd go right back to sleep. And then she'd be like, all right, devotion. I'm like, oh, shoot. So then I heard the put my clothes on with my hair looking all crazy, and I'd run up there and I'm like this. And you would look at me and I'm like, yeah, I just woke up.
Not dressed, not even for school, knowing that you gotta be out of the door at school at a certain time. So then you go run back in the room once the devotion was over, hurry up, throw the clothes on, and then dart out the door real quick, trying to get to school. And now she would be already ready. Cause
Yeah, she'd be already walking. She'd be already gone. She'll leave me. She didn't even think about me. She'd be gone.
Hey, I had a hard time waking up too. I used to hate waking up early.
We used to
I
have
used to
to
tell
walk.
Mom all the time, this is not the time of the Lord. This is too early. Can the Lord speak to me later? Can he talk to me later?
Oh my God.
So, in devotion, what were some of the things that you guys learned?
I think you always told us to be slow to speak,
Yeah,
quick to listen,
yeah,
always have a listening ear, because you have 2 ears to hear and 1 mouth, so you need to listen as much as you talk, or listen more than you talk.
yeah. Because that was, I think, hard. Because as kids, we all know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And parents, they don't know nothing, but we know everything. We need you to listen to us, what we saying, because you're not even listening to what we trying to tell you. And I think that was a hard thing. What about you, Lizette? What are some of the things that you learned?
The first thing that comes to my mind is the fruits of the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those. I feel like it was important for us to know that, and the reason for it is because it's like I think that's an everyday life thing on how we should treat people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's how God loves us, so we should be able to reciprocate that same thing to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I've definitely learned during devotion.
What you learned,
I'll
girl?
take mine, but my second one is kids should be obedient to their parents.
Yeah.
And
Should
not
be.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, because now I'll be ready to tear somebody's head up for real.
Oh my goodness. And as y'all can see, this is my more aggressive one. She's a middle child, so she's the one that talk all the time. And then Naya is the oldest, so she talks a lot. She just ain't talking a lot right now.
She be like, how
She more of the calm down, Shanice. It's not that serious. Come on, Shanice. It's ready to run. I'm like, heck yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we all are like a different variety of personalities, and in some sort, sometimes it can clash. But we, like I said, we all love each other unconditionally. I think we definitely grown over the years, because there's times where there are other sisters that we have a relationship with, and sometimes we don't see eye to eye, and that can completely destroy the whole relationship as family.
Yeah.
And you don't think about that or even think that it would go there, but it does. So for the ones that do stick around, and then the ones that we do look over or look past what we've been through with each other, and we just find forgiveness in that and still love each other and stick around, I feel like this is pretty much all we have.
Yeah.
Because we have other sisters, but we just always have to keep them in prayer and in our thoughts, because not all of us have been able to grasp what you were able to provide us. So.
And I also learned that life is too short. I had a grudge between two sisters when they died.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad about that. Like, really bad.
Yeah.
I can't take it back. I can't say I'm sorry. Nothing.
Yeah.
I think when Snacks and Damo died, I think that's what made us really more closer, because we didn't realize that,
Life could be taken from us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so quick. When you think of death, you don't think it's going to be somebody or your family member. So you don't think about those type of things. And it's like now, whenever I do end a conversation, I rather end it on a good note. Rather, if I'm telling you I'm going to the store, okay, I love you.
Yeah,
Or,
I think
okay,
our
bye.
family should do that.
Yes.
Say I love you like every time.
Yeah.
You might
You
get on
just
there.
don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Yeah.
You really just don't know, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's one thing when Snacks passed away, but then it's another thing when Damo, and it's like, okay, third time is a charm, and I don't want there to be a third time to be a charm, but it's just like it really hit home twice with 2 years apart. So it's like, oh, well, maybe we need to slow what we got going on down, or whatever the case may be.
Really taught you to have more unity.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
The same month,
Yeah. Yeah. That was hard.
just different years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now I
Different
think
years
we
was-
value coming together and spending time together,
Yeah.
because we never know if it's gonna be our last time or not. So we
Yeah.
try to love on each other while we still living,
Yeah.
still breathing, still walking, talking.
And like another thing, I also think that sometimes, and I could be wrong, but I feel like the more that your older girls come around, I think it opens up the eyes of your other foster kids that come around.
Yeah.
Because they look at you guys and they look at us and be like, oh, they still come around and they're grown, and mom and dad are hard on us. I wouldn't want to come back, and it's not even like that. So like when they see that our love is genuine for y'all and that y'all love is genuine for us, we can't find that somewhere else. Yes, we have family and stuff, love family and stuff like that, but you can't find that genuine love from anyone else. So when I come here, I come at peace. I mean, there's always, our girls arguing, sisters arguing, and this one playing video games and all types of stuff. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I feel like it's always peace here,
Yeah.
and I always find my safe haven peace here.
Yeah.
So.
That's the Holy Spirit.
I think it makes dad happy too, to see us and then
Yeah.
our kids.
It does. Because he
To
loves
see that his
babies.
labor is not in vain.
Yeah.
And then too, when you get older and you're out on your own, it kind of puts everything into perspective. Like, man, we didn't really have it that bad when we lived here.
Yeah.
We thought we had it bad. Now we all paying all of our bills are on. We got kids.
I wish I could go back.
Lord, can we come back home, Jesus?
And then it helps you understand where your dad was coming from.
Absolutely.
With a lot of stuff.
But I would say, only because schools don't teach us this, and I think this would be a great way as for foster parents to teach their foster kids, because foster kids, when they go into the world, like how when we emancipated, they just throw us into an apartment and that's it. They don't really teach you the form of how to pay bills and how to pay this and how to work on your credit, and you know, what to do when it comes to investing into stocks or things that we need to know in the future. How to become successful instead of becoming a statistic and having to do things that we don't need to do in order to get by. You know, if we know that they teach us these things in school, then maybe we can succeed. However, if they don't, then I feel like that would be an area where our parents should help us to be able to succeed. You know, even like, and I'm not saying like where the 13-year-olds need to talk about credits, because of course they're not going to know about credit, but I'm speaking more of the girls that you know that are going to emancipate pretty soon. You know, so that just so they can have knowledge and not feel clueless to when they do get their first credit card and then spend way too much and then put themselves in a debt and then now they have to, you know.
Because that's something your dad stayed on you guys about.
Yeah.
It's important.
He made us a board.
Yes.
Write it down.
I was like, I'm not gonna follow this board. When I followed the board, I swear it made it so much easier. And now my life is hectic.
Yeah.
Dad
Reap what
always
you
wrote
sow.
all of our bills down. Tithes and offering at the top.
Boy, those was in there. Big boat
It was
letters.
tithes, offering, rent,
Yeah.
gas,
And he always taught us to
whatever
pay
else
ourselves
was
back,
left over.
Yeah.
pay ourselves back to have a little cushion
Yeah.
set aside for a rainy day.
Savings was right under it.
Yep.
Savings.
Have
That's,
two
that's
accounts
what I was
and
saying,
gas
setting
money.
some aside.
Make sure you put this in your gas tank now. Don't you go to McDonald's.
Yeah. He was like, don't be getting no whole buckets of chicken.
And don't be spending your money on these pussy tail boys.
Yeah.
That was his code.
Nah, don't you be buying nobody's love. Okay, Dad.
Yeah, no, I do have to say that's something that he did do, and the funny thing is that me being his wife, he still makes out a bill like first week, second week, third week, fourth week, and then he'll make a bill for the whole house, for the household as for the month and what needs to be paid, and he'll say he had bought me a book. I didn't exactly follow it because you know. I forgot about it, but checking off and putting like the date of which you pay, what you paid, and he still does that. And I'm like, honey, I got it. But he's like real adamant. And then one of the things that he says, and I'm like, oh my God, he's like, I'm telling you, if anything happened to me and I pass away, my wife ain't gonna let nobody just come up in here and do anything because I done trained her to know what to do. I'm like, oh my God.
Well,
Yeah.
I would always ask, like, what is that writing on that yellow pad?
Oh
So
yeah, he used to do that all the time.
Yeah, 'cause he had yellow pads literally everywhere.
But that's how you guys get on cruises, take
So
trips.
he always had a stash
Yeah,
away from
yeah.
vacations.
Always, like, literally.
I was literally his assistant. Like when I remember when we were living on Chisholm Way, and he had the dining table. He had all them little yellow pads with all the information you were saying. He used to tell me, "Big head, help me out with this, and help me out with that," not knowing that these are vacations and trips that we going on. And I used to get annoyed because I used to be just wanting to go in my room, watch TV, or be on the phone, do whatever, but not realizing that we about to go have some fun.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
trying
but-
to show you
yes.
how to save for it,
Yes.
and still how to pay your bills, and still
Yep.
how to have extra saving on the side.
I think that's why Dad's so wealthy now. I'd be like, my daddy rich. I don't gotta worry about that.
That's true.
Well, we rich in the Lord. We ain't actually rich.
No, I just say, like, you know, other people's fathers ain't that, like they worry. My
Yeah.
dad don't have to worry, and then he depend on God. So
Yeah,
I'm not saying like God, but
He's
I'm
just
saying
stable.
like, yeah, he's stable. He's confident that God gonna provide for him.
yeah,
And then look at where y'all live.
yeah. I gotta say that's one thing that he is 100% confident of. No matter what happens, he's like, God will make a way. He'll always make a way. God will never leave us or forsake us. He's going to come through. I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to worry about it. And that's one thing that helps keep me grounded when he is confident in knowing that God is going to, you know, God is going to come through. I'm not going to even worry about it. Things are going on my job, but Tian, you know what? God always make a way. He always.
Yep, he always told me that.
He've always said he's never seen the righteous forsaken, nor seed begging for bread.
That
He
he's
used to call
going
me
to
all
do.
the time, like, these people at my job think they got me, but they just don't know God got them. I'm like, what? That was a threat, but it wasn't a threat. Like that, come on.
Yeah, like every time they talk about me at my job, talk about me behind my back, God gonna bless me in their face.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he do. I remember when there was one point where the business got a little slow, and then when business got a little slow, he said, honey, he said, I walked around that place and I just held my hands up and I started praying and asking the Lord to come in and to bless and all of that. And he said, and before you know it, they were building like a muffin line or something like that, like adding on stuff so that it would create more revenue and more business and more job opportunities and all of this stuff. And he's like, honey, I'm gonna tell you, ain't nothing like raising your hands and walking around your job and asking the Lord to bless and to make a way. And even when he's on his forklift or his jack and he's constantly singing and worshiping and he's like, honey, this was going on and that was going on. And then, I just had the peace of God. I just had the peace of God while everybody else is running around doing it. I just had the peace of God. And I love to hear that on his job, in spite of everything that's going on, that he's allowing the peace of God to come in.
Instead of confusion.
Yeah, instead of confusion.
Because when he got confusion, I got confusion.
Yeah, I used to always say, honey, they trying to take away my overtime and my weekends. Watch, honey. The Lord gonna turn it around.
And then immediately the Lord will turn it around. I think too, for me, I look at that as an example too, because we are 13 and a half years apart. So us being 13 and a half years apart, I was 18 when he married me, so on my birthday. So a lot of what I've learned as a Christian and as a woman, you know what I mean, and just all of the things that come along with being a strong woman, I got a lot of that from him. Because your dad is such a hard man. He's like an alpha male, like alpha.
Have you met my grandpa?
Ooh, Jesus, child, yes. Your grandpa is, I don't know if it's called super, is there a super alpha? Is there something above?
That's a bigger alpha.
Oh, God, yes. So, I mean, he just fall right in that line, but I thank God every day for your dad. I thank God for blessing me with not just a good man, but a great man. And a man that absolutely 100% loves God. And that is his heart. You know what I mean? That to teach his children to love God, to teach his children to learn to have an ear to hear, what God is saying, and to focus. Because that's something he's like, these kids ain't listening, Tian. I try to tell them they ain't listening. They ain't got it yet. They still don't know. I'm trying to tell them God will make a way and all this other kind of stuff. They just don't want to listen. If they would return their tithe, it always come back to that returning that tithe. He keep going there.
I know.
Yeah. She's like, one ain't gonna let them run over her. She gonna tell them.
And so that's something that I really admire, because that taught me a lot about being a strong woman, because he was so hard. He was such a hard man. I had to be a strong woman. I had to learn to be a strong woman. That kept me on my face. That kept me in prayer. That kept me fasting. It still keeps me on my face and in prayer and fasting, and being in my word, so that the peace of God can encapsulate my mind. Because if not, like Tian, the old Tian is crazy. She's crazy.
I know. Well, I tried to scare you one time. You turned around and was like, oh my God, I don't need that.
The old Tian is crazy, but the Tian that God has created me to be, and is continuing to do a work in me, because he's not done yet. I'm not done learning. I'm not done growing. I'm not done. This is not it. I haven't reached the it. Right. I won't reach that until I'm dead. You know what I mean? And I've gone on to meet the Lord, but just to continue to grow and to learn a lot of that your dad taught me. You know what I mean? And then that came from his mom and his grandmother and all of the things. Because I remember when I had my son, we went back to Oklahoma, and his grandmother at the time was nearly 100 years old. I think she was like 98, 99 years old. And he said, Grandma, he said, he called her, it's a name that he called her, but he asked her to lay hands on me and pray for me. And then to lay hands on the babies and pray for them. You know what I mean? And he said that it's just something about not his mom, but his mom's mom, or his his dad's mom. You know what I mean? Laying hands and passing that mantle and anointing. And so I wouldn't say that I have that mantle, but I would say that her prayers are effective, and even my own grandparents, because my grandparents were ministers. You know, my grandmother was a preacher, and my grandfather, he was a deacon in the church. So it's been passed down, you know, from a long line of those that were in ministry before me. So I used to sleep on the pews, up under the pews, like all on the pews, because we stayed at church. It seemed like from Sunday to Sunday, because there was always something going on at the church. There was choir rehearsal, there was feeding the homeless, there was the sick and the shut in, there was the all night prayer from the time that you wake up to the time that you go to sleep, you know, when you have to stay in, or the 24-hour prayer. We didn't get out of church until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We would have an intermission from say 3 to 5, and then we would be back at church by 6, and then we would be at church until like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Like, this was like continual. This is what would happen, like always. So we were always at church. And Naya finds that funny.
Sorry.
Why you saying sorry?
Because you was always at church. Oh my God. She said,
I thought we had it bad.
6 o'clock, get back at church. They didn't even give you an hour to get back.
Yeah, I mean, these are facts. Like this, I'm talking real stuff. Like, we stayed at the church house all the time doing something. And then my grandfather, because he was a deacon, he used to drive the pastor like from place to place, because the pastor would evangelize too. So they would be driving all out of town to Pasadena and LA and just San Diego and all of these different areas. My grandfather used to drive them, and then my grandmother, because she preached, she would go too and be preaching at all of these various churches and then come back, and she was still choir director. So we was at church for choir rehearsal, and then I think it was like Thursdays we fed the homeless. So we were cooking big old pots of chili or whatever it was that we were cooking, cornbread and all of the things, and then be feeding the homeless, and then go back to the church for a little time of prayer and all of the things. So we are like always at church. There was never a dull moment in my grandparents'
Is that
house.
why you guys feed the homeless?
Huh?
Is that why you guys feed the homeless?
No, you know, I've always had a heart for the homeless ever since I was a little girl, because at various points in my life, like my mom was homeless, you know what I mean? And then other people in my family were homeless. And just at one point as a teenager, I was homeless. You know what I mean? So
I was homeless.
when I was a teenager, I slept like in abandoned houses and stuff like that. You know, because going through that rebellious stage, I was as a teen, I started living with my mom. So going through that rebellious stage, you know, you want to be grown, go be grown. Go do, you know, you think you got it all together, go do, you know, your thing. So that's how I wound up sleeping in abandoned houses. Me just wanting to be grown, not really realizing that the world was not like I thought it was going to be. The grass wasn't greener on the other side. Regardless of,
I know the grass ain't green.
look,
I'm serious.
regardless of what I was going through as a teenager growing up, look, she said, I'm serious. Take it. I cannot come back home, Mom. But I didn't realize that as a teen growing up. I thought the grass was going to be greener on the other side because I wanted to be grown. And wrong. You know what I mean? So that wasn't a good situation for me to put my own self in. But as teenagers, we really don't know. Or I didn't know then what I know now. And so thank the Lord for his grace and his mercy. Anyhow, girls, let's wrap this up. Until next time.
TNG.
Fostering
Christian love.
Where
you can get all the tea.